Hello YouTube, greetings from the past. My name is Liam, and today I'm going to be filming a video which I'm going to title, Do Americans Deserve the 4th of July? And spoiler alert, the answer is no. So right off the bat, let's start with, if you refer to the holiday as the 4th of July, you're already off to a bad start, okay? The 4th of July is the colloquial term for Independence Day, which is what the actual holiday is called. You can check on your calendar, it's gonna say Independence Day. And this holiday, this year in particular, year of our Lord 2025, celebrates the 249th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, which basically created the United States in 1776. So that's what you're actually celebrating when you celebrate the 4th of July, Independence Day. And that's going to be what this whole video is kind of about, because I think a lot of people have it kind of backwards. So that's the first thing. Don't call it 4th of July. That's not what it is. It's Independence Day. So what was this whole, Independence Day thing about? Well, I'm sure you probably know. I won't, dumb it down for you too much. But Independence Day celebrates the Declaration of Independence, the signing of it by the Founding Fathers, and, thus separating themselves from the colonial British government, right? But what's so important about the Declaration of Independence? Well, the Declaration of Independence and the American Revolution is the first time in human history that a group has revolted from their government on the basis of individual rights. There's really no other, there might be other examples. I'm not aware of any, right? A lot of revolutions in the past are just about, who's going to be king, very boring stuff. But the Declaration specifically set out that humans have a God-given right. They're endowed with certain unalienable rights by God or by their creator or by nature. And that among those are the right to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness. You've heard this before. I'm not going to bore you with that, right? But let's go a little deeper. Why would Americans not be able to celebrate that? Anyone in the world should celebrate a government based on individual rights. It's a good idea, Granted, a lot of these people were landowning slaveholders, but, nonetheless, they still came up with a good idea in theory, right? But we have to keep in mind, these people did not rebel and set up the United States that we have today. They signed the Declaration of Independence, and were fighting a revolutionary war against their colonial rulers, the British. And they did form the Articles of Confederation. Those were ratified in 1781, I believe, right? The Articles of Confederation gave no direct power to the federal government to tax people, right? And, you've probably heard about like the Boston Tea Party and stuff. Well, what was that about? The Boston Tea Party and some of these early American revolutionary woes about taxes was over a 3 pence per pound tax on tea. Now, the price of tea at the time, from what I could find just quickly Googling, was anywhere from 6 to 12 pence per pound. So that was a pretty hefty tax of about 25 to 50% on tea, which was a big commodity at the time, a big deal, I would be bummed if I had to pay 25 or 50% tax on tea. But by that same token, I do pay almost 10% tax on tea because I pay 10% tax on everything because I live in the People's Republic of California. I also pay over 60 cents per gallon for gasoline. So yeah, I think I pay about 9.75% sales tax right now. So you can see where I'm going with this. If you are, an American patriot and you love the 4th of July, you love Independence Day, you put up so many American flags, but yet you're perfectly comfortable paying 10% sales tax, paying almost half of your income if you make enough money in income tax, paying property tax just to live, paying gas tax just to drive around, let alone all the taxes that you pay indirectly because they're taxed, taxes that apply to corporations or producers of goods in this economy. You're fine with doing that. You really shouldn't be celebrating the holiday. You have no clue what you're talking about. And you, as far as I'm concerned, have no right to celebrate a holiday that's about people fighting an actual revolution, putting their lives at risk against their colonial rulers, over taxation as well as many other issues. Why are you celebrating a holiday where 249 years ago, people actually did something and you just pay taxes, or you're fine with, the US military or anything, central banking, You can't be okay with all of this stuff. You at least have to be actively annoyed by it. Okay? Like, if you're at least like, I hate freaking taxes, we shouldn't be, taxation is theft, but I gotta, I don't want to go to jail, I got a wife and kids. Okay, fine. But if you're like, America rules, 4th of July, 1776, and you have no problem with the military, taxation, policing, central banking, all of these things that the government does nowadays, I don't know what to say. It's cognitive dissonance. You're delusional, So, yeah. With that being said, do your best to not pay taxes, disregard illegitimate laws, and have a happy and safe Independence Day.